least a grasp of their history. And I think that's probably a little different over here in the States. At least it seems to be an understanding, appreciation for American history. And if it's not your thing, roger that. It's kind of part of one of the many beautiful aspects of being in this society is you can choose to where you want to invest your time and energy. But we've got such a smaller history. It's such a shorter history. We're babies. America is still a baby compared to the world and these other societies. You look at today, if you use today as the benchmark of the birth of America, we've been around less than 250 years. So very much babies, and yet there are still many Americans that have very little clue as it pertains to American history. And you know what? Roger that, teach their own. It's a subject that I particularly enjoy. I don't know it all, and there are still times when I am met with a piece of information about American history and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. I bring that up because my morning post in the Forge this morning, it speaks to America, it speaks to American history, and the response from my teammates here has been pretty powerful. And I was just going through some of the responses here. I'm in my office going through some of my responses, and it's been posted for a few hours. And I wanted to share the post publicly. I'm going to read it and then share a couple additional thoughts. And this speaks to American history a bit. It speaks to today. So just let this be maybe a small reminder of some information that may have been forgotten or perhaps never known here on this day, as we all get ready to celebrate this day however we choose, keyword, however we choose to celebrate today. So the post reads this: the Lee Resolution, also known as, quote, the Resolution for Independence, was the formal assertion passed by the Second Continental Congress on July 2nd, 1776, resolving that the 13 colonies, then referred to as the United Colonies, were, quote, free and independent states, end quote, and separate from the British Empire. This created what became the United States of America. And news of the act was published that evening in the Pennsylvania Evening Post and the following day in the Pennsylvania Gazette. The Declaration of Independence, which officially announced and explained the case for independence, was approved 2 days later on July 4th, 1776. Here's some of my words. It is perhaps easy to forget that on this day, that following the approval of the Declaration, the now official American patriots would continue fighting the most powerful military force the world had ever known for another 7 years before the Treaty of Paris was signed on September 3rd, 1783, whereby Great Britain ultimately recognized the independence and sovereignty of the United States. It is one thing, in my opinion, to have an idea. Literally, countless ideas are fostered every single day, some of which could literally change the world. It is another thing to have the courage, intellect, work ethic, etc., to begin making strides towards making that idea real. It is another thing to successfully influence and inspire others to also believe in that same vision. And it is yet another thing to fight for that idea with your very life. On this day, let us all, regardless of nationality, take pause to reflect on the mentality and actions taken by a group of people joined by a singular idea. A wild, big-ass, holy hell, are we seriously gonna fucking do this idea? An idea we get to enjoy today, an idea most of us take for granted daily, an idea known as freedom, an idea known as America. Happy Independence Day, everybody. Signed, Nick. And it's really that second to last paragraph that has me reflecting. It has a lot of the people here in the Forge reflecting. I'm not going to regurgitate it verbatim, but I'll just paraphrase when I say that, it's easy to look at today as the birth of America. And we look at it that way. Independence Day. But what goes forgotten by most of us is the almost decade of fighting, of combat that was required before Great Britain recognized the United States as a sovereign nation. So we can have these ideas all day long, which we do. If we have the courage and forward thinking, aggressiveness, discipline, dedication, all these things, to then plant a stake in the ground, to make a claim and say, this is what we're going to do, and we're already doing it. That's powerful in itself. And that's something that we may do externally. It's something we may just do internally, but you make a commitment to something. Then it requires, in this instance, nearly a decade of active fighting to make that claim real. And we tend to forget that, I think, from time to time. You could perhaps even argue that September 3rd could also be recognized as a holiday for us, as something that we would celebrate. We choose July 4th because that's when we made that commitment, which makes total sense. You could also then look at September 3rd, the day that Great Britain and the United States signed the Treaty of Paris, where it's like, okay, guys, you win. We're going to fall back here and return to our little island and revamp this strategy here, this whole colonization thing that we kind of had going. We're kind of fucking it up. I don't think it's going to work. So we're going to go back to the drawing board and reassess what the fuck it is we're doing here. Excuse my language. We could also look at that day as a day to celebrate, September 3rd. Actually, which is 2 days after my birthday, which would be kind of cool. But we don't, and that's totally cool. I'm not suggesting we need to adjust Independence Day or add a new one. I'm just saying it's also an important milestone, not just for the birth of America and what it took to make it real, but for us as well as individuals. Using today and the significance of today as a reminder and as a guide, I think, as an actual guide for us as we live our own lives and we plant our own flags in the ground and we make our own commitments towards becoming the person we want to be. At some point, you need to make that claim. But then we need to know going in that it's going to be a fight. And that fight could last years. In fact, it probably will last years of ruthless battle. And during that time frame, we're going to take a lot of losses. We're going to lose a lot of battles. We're going to lose a lot of battles. But that's essential. It's an essential part of the journey, is losing those battles. I do stand firm when I say, in order to win the war against the world, you must be able to win the battles within your mind. And that's really where a lot of these battles take place. And we're not going to win them all. We're going to lose at times. What do we do with those losses? There's a massive difference, in my opinion, between failure and defeat. Both of them involve losing. Both of them involve getting it wrong. But as I see it, the difference between failure and defeat is one's choice to get back up and then continue to press forward. In that instance, it's a failure, which can be leveraged. In fact, it needs to be leveraged because that's where most of the knowledge is located. That's where most of the wisdom is housed, in getting it wrong. Defeat would be taking that same loss and then staying down and choosing to not get. of losses throughout that 7 years and the time it took to make this declaration ring true. So just something I have been reflecting on here this morning, and a lot of my teammates here in the Forge are chiming in with a lot of phenomenal insights. So I wanted to share that post publicly. And as I close this thing out here, happy Independence Day. A day that many have off. It's a day for reflection and celebration and spending time with families and doing the barbecues and the cookouts and drinking some cold beers, or, whatever it is you decide to do, blow some things up. Please do it safely. It's like I see this every year where it's just someone's blowing their fingers off, or the makeshift display of fireworks that you set up in the middle of the road like tips over right after you light it, and it just starts shooting fireworks at kids and at houses. So please be safe. Please be safe. If you're consuming alcohol, don't drive. It's just not worth it. But however you choose to celebrate today, it's been earned. A day many of us dedicate to a time for that, for family, for reflection, and for celebration, which is great. Many are working today. Just on my drive here, I'm in my office right now. I'm going to put in a couple hours, 2-3 hours of work, and then dial into family festivities this afternoon into this evening. But on my drive here, a lot of people working. And I drove by at least 3 different landscapers that were out, edging, mowing. It's like 150,000 degrees here in Tennessee. So they're out there working. There's this, it's not a parade that's going on here in downtown Clarksville, but there's people out. They blocked off a bunch of the downtown area. There's music going. Everyone's dressed in the red, white, and blue, doing their thing. Kids out having a good time already. So there's a lot of law enforcement that are out working, not just in that particular location, but throughout the country. Obviously, first responders. I don't know how many of my good friends are overseas right now, doing the work that's being asked of them to do. So a lot of people are working today. So I ask that however you choose to celebrate today and enjoy today, take a moment, even if it's just internally. When I say a moment, I mean even just literally a moment, like 3 seconds, and just bring in a little bit of gratitude into your heart for those that are out there getting after it today, putting in that work to keep this amazing, unique, special society that we have built up and running, while the majority of us, or at least most or some of us, are enjoying today. That's my ask of you. That's my challenge to you. So happy birthday, America. Happy Independence Day to everybody else. Be safe. Enjoy it. Perhaps get a little bit of work in. Either way, tomorrow is going to come, and then we're definitely back at it. Those that are taking today to kind of reset. Happy birthday, America, and happy 4th of July to everybody else.